Guys, we have made it. We made it to winter break. You've made it to the last day of school before winter break. We only have a few hours left, or maybe not even that much time, depending on what time it is right now. You might be watching this at the end of the day. Maybe you're watching at the beginning of the day. Whatever it may be, congratulations, because we have made it through part of our school year. I always like to think of winter break as a great time for us to rest, relax, recharge, and kind of reset. A lot of re's at the beginning of those words. So when we're talking about resetting or recharging, it's like getting ourselves set up again for when we come back in January. We're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. But for right now, just like we've been doing for the past few weeks, let's talk about those peaks and valleys. Let's talk about and think about what has gone really well this week, and also talk about and think about what maybe could have been a little bit better. I have to tell you, some of us this week, I think, have had so much excitement, myself included at times, about the holidays coming up, about winter break, that we've gotten a little silly. We've made some choices that maybe weren't the best, maybe said some things that weren't super great. And today, as we're thinking about those peaks and we're thinking about those valleys, those low points, or the things that we didn't love about this week, I want you to think about what we can do to try and turn it around either next week while you're at home on break, or even better, when we come back to school in January. So now we're really trying to think ahead, think in the future about what we want to do when we come back to school in January. How we want to change certain behaviors, how we want to change certain things. So we have our peaks, the parts of our week that were really wonderful, that we can think about right now too. Reflect back, think back on what it is that we've done. We talked about that word reflect last week. Can you all say that word with me? Reflect. And when we're talking about reflecting, we can think of that mirror of our reflection. So we're looking at ourselves. When we're reflecting back on something, we're looking at that something really closely. We're trying to think about what it is that we've done in the past and whether we feel really good about it, whether we feel really not so good about it, or it's just kind of in between. Maybe we don't really have any strong feeling about it whatsoever. Sorry, my hair is all messy from it being so windy outside today. Also, it was a crazy sweater day today at school, so that's why I'm dressed kind of like a Christmas tree. So, reflecting back on this past week, on the things that felt good, on the choices that we made that we're proud of, and thinking about the things that next week, or maybe when we come back in January, those valleys that we could try and change. The things that we can try and have a little bit more control over when we realize that we're feeling an uncomfortable emotion, or when we're feeling a really comfortable emotion that's kind of getting out of hand. All right? So, in order to really get ourselves in that nice, calm place, what I want you to do right now is I want us to do some deep breathing. And this one actually came to me from Alexia G. in Mrs. Barone's class in 2nd grade. She stopped me in the hallway the other day and said, Mrs. Heffler, I came up with a new breathing exercise. Can we do it on our Friday feeling? And I said, sure. Sounds like a good one. And this one's going to be twofold. That means it has 2 parts to it. We're going to be using our imaginations for it, but then we're also going to be using our body to do some deep breathing with it, which I like. All right? For the past few weeks, we've been talking about those peaks and valleys, and going into winter, really now that we're in late December, it's actually the season of winter, which is exciting. What I want you to do is you can close your eyes to do this if you'd like, or you can keep them open, whatever you're comfortable with. But let's start by taking a deep breath in through our nose and out through your mouth. Also, if your nose is stuffy, you don't have to breathe in through your nose. If you just don't like breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, breathe however you'd like to breathe. It's really okay. The trick is that we're taking those deep breaths. So if you're breathing fully in through your mouth, that's A-okay by me. If you're breathing fully in through your nose and out through your nose, that's okay too. Whatever you're comfortable with, the key thing is that we're taking those deep breaths. So let's go ahead and get in that comfortable space one more time. Take a big deep breath in and let it out. Do one more of those for me. In and out. All right. With your eyes either open or closed, I want you to picture a mountain range. Do we know what that is? A mountain range is when there's more than one mountain and they're often far away in the distance. And we see all of these lines of the land going up to mountain peaks and then down a bit and then up again. And we have mountains of different sizes and different shapes and maybe different colors. Maybe some have trees, maybe some are covered in snow. For today's exercise, because we're talking about winter and we're talking about holiday break, I want you to picture a bunch of mountains all in a row that are covered in snow. And they're beautiful, and they're peaceful, and they're big and majestic. I want you to picture what that would look like in your mind. And what we're going to do is I want you to picture that there's actually 5 mountains there. Snow-covered, beautiful, glistening in white. And we are going to trace our mountain range up and breathe in and trace it down and breathe out. Just like Alexia, my friend Alexia, came up with. So let's go ahead. I'm going to start over here. I think this video flips, so I think you'll be starting on the same side as me. I'm starting to the left. Whichever side you want to start with is okay. We're going to do 5 of these with deep breaths. Ready? Trace up that mountain peak and down. Trace up and down. 3 more. Trace up and down. Can you make these next 2 mountains really high? So they're going to be long, slow breaths. Ready? Trace up and down. Last one. Trace all the way up to the tippy top. And as you trace down, I want you to try and squeeze all the air out. And then just go back to breathing normally. It feels so nice when we kind of squeeze everything out and then we get that nice fresh air coming into our lungs. Beautiful, my friends. All right, so thinking about what's coming up in the future. Thinking about what's coming up next. So we have winter break where we're going to be at home. Maybe you'll be with your family members. Maybe you'll be with friends. Maybe you're celebrating Christmas. Maybe you're not. Maybe you are just hanging out and enjoying. Maybe you're celebrating New Year's. Maybe you're not, and that's okay. But whatever it is that you're doing, I want us to pause for a minute and to think about something we are going to do to help us feel good over break. All right? Think about it right now. And here's the trick. I have a rule. It can't be video games. In fact, I don't want it to be on the screen at all. It shouldn't be on any device. I don't want you playing video games for your thing that you can feel good. You can play video games over break if mom and dad say it's okay, but I don't want you to be doing just video games for this exercise, okay? I want you to think a little bit deeper about things that make us feel good. Maybe it is something on a screen, like maybe you're like, I'm going to have movie night with my family. We're going to make popcorn. We're going to watch a movie together, and that's going to be fun. That's totally different than us sitting on our screen or tablet for a while playing a game. I want you to think about whatever it might be that makes you feel good inside. We've talked about this before, those coping skills, those things that we keep in our little imaginary toolbox in our brain for those moments that we need help feeling better, okay? For me, I've shared some of this before. For me, I love to play guitar. I like to play piano. I like to sing. I love to sometimes color, or I love being outside. I love hiking or running. Those are things that make Mrs. Heffler feel good. But your list is going to be different from mine because we're not the same people. Last time I checked, there's only one Mrs. Heffler here, except for when the other Mrs. Heffler comes to visit on these videos. So think about whatever it is that makes you feel good. Maybe it's reading a book. I love doing that too. Reading a book can kind of get us into a story, engrossed in someone else's story, and make us forget about whatever it is that might be troubling us. Maybe it's doing an art project. Maybe it's doing a science project. Maybe it's playing a sport that you love. Going outside with mom or dad, your brother, your sister, your cousins, and playing soccer or football. Maybe it's going on a walk or snuggling with your dog. There are so many different things it can be. I want you to pick one right now. Think about this coming week when you're not here at school. Think about one of those things that you're going to do to help yourself feel better or just to help yourself feel nice, and make time to do it. That's the tricky thing, because then when we get into breaks, it's so easy for us to just kind of get wrapped up in everything else, or to get wrapped up in our video game, or to get wrapped up in other things that are happening. So really think about when you might be able to do this thing. Maybe it's first thing in the morning. Maybe it's at night before you get ready for bed. Think about that thing that you're going to try and do for yourself at least once over break, maybe even more than that, maybe a few times. And make a promise to yourself to do it. Make a promise to yourself, especially if you feel that you're having some tough emotions to deal with, either really comfortable ones like excitement or joy. Maybe we're losing control of ourselves a bit because we're so excited about the holidays or a gift that we got, or uncomfortable feelings like worry or sadness or stress. Because sometimes when our schedule is changed, like we're not coming to school every day, that can happen too. So whenever you have those big feelings over break, I want you to think about what it is that you can do for yourself to feel a little bit better. Maybe taking a few minutes to be alone by yourself and drawing. Maybe taking a few minutes to be alone by yourself and listening to music or playing outside. Whatever it might be. Okay, you got it? You're all good? All right, good. Let's talk about the future. So we're just talking about the future as it is in a few weeks when we come back to school on, I don't even know what date because my mind is just not there yet. I think it's on January 3rd. Let's just make sure. Even Mrs. Heffler, I don't have all the answers all the time. Yes, January 3rd, it's a Monday, so we are going to come back to school, right? I know it's nice and exciting right now. We probably don't want to be thinking about when we come back in January, and that's okay. But I do want you to take a few minutes right now at the end of our Friday feeling to think about when we come back in January. And I'm going to talk to you guys kind of like you're adults right now. All right, I'm going to be really honest with you about some things that happen at our school. Sometimes when we come back from a break, it can be hard. Not for everyone. Some of you come back and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm so excited to be back. I want to see my friends. I want to see my teacher. I want to go to recess. I want to go to gym. I want to go to art and computers and music and library and Spanish and all those things. And that's awesome. That is really great. But others, sometimes when we're home, it feels so nice and good and comfortable that we have trouble leaving that and coming back to school. That's okay. It's okay to feel that way. Teachers, you might even be feeling that way. I know sometimes even I feel that way. It's nice for us to be home. We love our families. We love our room. We love our beds. We love all that comfortable stuff. And sometimes it can be hard for us to get it together and get out the door and come into school or come into work. Totally normal. If on January 2nd or January 3rd in the morning, you start to feel yourself being like, ooh, I don't really want to come back to school tomorrow, or I don't really want to go to school today if it's on the 3rd. I want you to pause when that happens, and I want you to remember all the times you've already done this tough thing. Let me say it again. If that happens, if you find yourself having trouble coming back to school when we come back in January, I want you to remind yourself of all the times you've already come to school this year, and probably, if you're my 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th graders, all the times you've come to school already in the past years. You've gotten through so many school days. You've gotten through so many different times. A lot of you have gotten through virtual learning as well. If you've been able to do that in the past, you're going to be able to do this when we come back to school. Sometimes when we go through something that's hard, or sometimes when we just have something that's challenging, it doesn't even have to be considered hard necessarily. It could just be something that's a challenge. What I like to think of is it's almost like we're building steps in our life. Every challenge, I'm going to go this way. Okay. Every challenge that we have and we overcome is like a step on our staircase. And then what we're doing is we're laying these steps so that we can actually walk up them and continue on through our life and continue to face things that might be tough or scary or challenging. So pause for a moment right now. Think about something that was hard for you in the past that now is pretty easy. I'll give you an example in a moment, but I'm going to give you a second to think about it first. something that was hard at first that now is pretty easy. I bet a lot of you have some similar answers. I know I ask this question of kids that I work with in my office sometimes, and sometimes kids say things like doing gymnastics, like doing a cartwheel or a back handspring. Sometimes kids say things like walking. When we were all born, none of us could walk. It was hard at first. We kept trying as little tiny babies, and then we got better at it. Sometimes it might be something like riding a bike, or for my older kids, it might be reading. When you were in kindergarten, you were like, I barely know my letters, and then you're able to read when we kept trying at it. Think about that hard thing, and think about how it felt in that moment, if you remember it. If you were a baby, you might not remember. And how great it felt to be able to then do it, or how great it felt to get through it. Another example I can think of, a lot of times when I talk to kids, they're worried about going to the doctor or the dentist, and then I talk to them the next day and they're like, Mrs. Heffler, that was fine. It was not a big deal. I got a shot. It didn't even hurt. I'm fine. Think about those moments when you felt afraid before, or when you faced something that was tough, and how you were able to overcome it. When we overcome something, it means that we're afraid of it, we're frightened of it, and yet we're still able to push ourselves to do it. Okay? Every time you faced one of those challenges before, it's a step on your staircase. And you're building that staircase that takes you higher and higher. And going higher and higher is great because you get to do more fun things. You get to have new experiences. You get to do fun stuff at school or at home or after school with your friends. We are building that staircase of our life every time we're faced with a challenge. For some of you, coming back January 2nd, coming back January 3rd, not going to be a big deal. It's not going to be part of your staircase. You're going to be like, I'm good. I like school. This is not a problem for me. And that's great, friends. I think I'm going to be in the same place as you with that feeling. For others, maybe you're like a little nervous about it, or maybe you will be when that happens. And that's okay. You're still building that staircase. And I want you to know that if you find yourself having any trouble when we do come back, there are people here that want to help you, including myself and your teachers, and also lots of other people in our school who are here to support and here to help. So, face those fears. Remind yourself of the tough things you've already overcome, the tough things that you've already faced and you've already done in your life, and how those things can help to push us forward to overcome those other challenges that are down the line. All right? I hope each and every one of you has a super relaxing holiday break. I hope you all get to relax. You get to do something fun and enjoyable for yourself. Remember, it doesn't have to be something big or grand. It doesn't have to cost money. It can just be something that you do quietly in your room by yourself to make yourself feel good, like we talked about earlier. And I am so excited to see all of your faces back here at school on January 3rd. And if you need anything, when we come back to school, you can always reach out and let me know. I'm here to help. All right, my friends, have a great half day. Have an awesome break. And remember, LPES, even over holiday break, stay kind. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, friends.